Can you help me remember if we've met before?
Oh yes, I think this is my
Right?
third session with you, and it's been a
Right, right.
while though. But yeah, we've spoken already. Yeah,
Yeah, I could
I
vaguely
understand. You can
remember.
speak to a number of people every day, so remembering everyone's face, it could be probably a task at times.
No, no, but I could vaguely recall that we've had a conversation, just not the vividness of it, but I do.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you've had 88 sessions. How's it been so far?
Yeah, good. It's been great again. My experience with Clapingo so far has been great, and every day I learn something, and I get to talk to different people, different tutors, and they have different opinions about how we should work on our communication. So yeah, so far I mean it's been awesome.
All right. Is there anything in specific that you want to work on since you've had so many sessions? So I'm assuming there's also been a shift of your goals.
Not really. The I just wanted to talk to people and just wanted to continue the way I'm going, right? So nothing specific as such. It's not in my mind. It's just that I wanted to speak to with people and then continue developing every day. So that's all I wanted to do.
All right. Okay. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I see the topic that we have for the day is paper versus screen. Before we move to it, I'd like to know, do you read?
Sure, but before we get into this topic for today, I
Yeah.
just wanted to tell you, I've already spoken, I've already discussed the topic in my
All right.
last session. But again, if you want, we can do it
Oh, no,
again.
no,
But
we won't
before
do
that,
it
I
then.
would
But
like,
I think I would like
yeah.
to touch upon something close. How much do you consume written text? What is your text consumption like now?
I do read books, but sometimes, I don't find myself regular due to my schedule. And
All right.
that's one thing which I really wanted to work on because reading is a great habit, and I might not be consistent at a certain point in time, but I always wish to stick with that. But
Uh-huh.
but I'm not able to do that at this point in time much.
All right. And what about your social media content consumption in general? Do you think does it gravitate towards video convenience or text description?
Okay, if I talk about social media, I think I uh, you know go through a lot of videos related to English content, right?
Yeah.
If I talk about the podcast, especially Jay Shetty, right? I
Yeah.
closely follow him, going through his podcasts, and Ranveer is the other guy. I've been closely following him as well. And there are other speakers, international speakers, where I really am fascinated to hear them and learn from them. I follow Karan Thapar as well, as I found him one of the profound speakers when it comes to journalism, right? And then, of course, I mean, if I talk about Netflix and watching various web series, I am also into that as well. So yeah, that's what I do in order to improve my communication every day. Trust me, I've got a couple of questions to check with you before we get into this, and if you don't
Okay,
mind,
sure,
because
sure. Oh, please ask,
ma'am,
please.
I have to tell you that I found you to be very few speakers on this platform who's been so, I mean, again, expressive, very well spoken, and so I
Oh,
think
that's very sweet of you.
and certainly I can tell you that probably you would be the one who can probably suggest me or answer these questions uh, in a better way, I believe. So I just wanted to understand, how was your English journey from basic to advanced? Because I've already attended a couple sessions with you. I don't know if you remember, but yeah, and those sessions that I had with you were awesome. So just wanted to know your journey from basic to advanced.
It's difficult for me to trace my journey or to probably spread it across levels because English always has been my medium of expression. I was brought up in a rather privileged background where my parents spoke in English with me and all my siblings when we were children. Now, of course, we don't, since they can take a take a back seat and feel relieved that okay, now they've learned it, so they can also be more comfortable in the language that they feel a more preference towards. But my parents always spoke in English with me. I was sent to an English medium school where speaking English was compulsory. Now when I look
Oh,
back at it, I do not really appreciate that, but English was compulsory. In fact, I remember very vividly myself being English monitor in one of the classes where
oh,
if
wow.
students didn't, I think it was, we were rather younger, probably fifth or sixth standard, I believe. So I remember around the time it was quite a, although we all spoke in English, most of us, and the friend circle that I engaged in and I still maintain also spoke in English primarily. So English was not that big of a deal for us because that was our language of communication. But I still remember as a child feeling pride over knowing the language or having command over it. Again, something not very proud of now. But I had I and a lot of my friends and a lot of I think a good group of us. We all soaked in immense pride in knowing the language that we did. So hence I became the class monitor, and if except for Hindi lecture, all of us had to speak in English. And if anybody spoke a
Yeah.
word in Hindi, they were to give 5 rupees fine. And if they
Oh my
spoke a
God.
sentence in Hindi, they were to give 10 rupees of fine. And
Okay.
so there was this calculation and this supervision going on throughout the class. And at the end of the session, with the collected money, we all partied over this suppression that we created over a language.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it was always that for me. And then eventually, I was very active in co-curriculars. I think that was the prime for me. Because you speak in English, that is one thing, but then participating in co-curriculars, being out in front and as representative of class and of school, it there was quite a responsibility on me to be well spoken because I was representative of my school and of my people.
Mhm.
So, and I also supremely inclined towards debating, spoken English, oration, writing. So I think all of that somehow culminated into me, like if I have to put it in level, to advance from basic level. Again, it was no
Awesome.
effort to become advanced. I, in fact, never read books in school other than literature that was recommended in the course because everybody suggested that you must read books to improve your English. So I took it as a rebellion to not read books and still have good command of the language. Only later did I realize that you read books for more reasons other than vocabulary. But again, there was no conscious effort to advance my level. It just naturally happened because there was an interest in me and because this was my language. And I, more than language, I feel a very strong requirement and responsibility as a human to be a good communicator. It's very important to express yourself and to communicate. So whatever language you do it in, you must become good at language because the thoughts are complex. So if my thoughts are basic, a basic language can suit me, basic vocabulary can suffice it. But as my thoughts became complex, I needed to widen my vocabulary to expand the horizon of
Horizon.
my
Yeah.
language, right? So
Okay.
it was kind of complementary to my
Exactly.
thoughts.
Yeah.
And then eventually I went to school. I went to Delhi University. So in Delhi University, people from all the states of India come together. So there's no one language that you can speak. Although Hindi did dominate, but then
Great.
again, my friend circle was such that I spoke in English. Now I where I studied masters, Delhi University again, English. So it's not a journey per se, to be honest with you. It's just a very natural
Okay.
escalation.
So what do you do? Are you doing conscious effort right now also in order to maintain that fluency? Do you have that environment at home as well? So how is that?
I think my friends helped me a lot in the sense that we all communicate, we all express immensely with each other. So uh, sometimes I do face difficulty in the sense that if I'm talking to a friend, so I do face dearth of vocabulary sometimes to express what I'm feeling. But because I like expressing, I like receiving expression. So there's always a constant effort, internal effort. It's not external that keeps me to update myself as to how can I improve. But it's really been a practice with my friends because we all speak about. Also, I'm from humanities background, so words, language has a very it is very significant in the subject matter. I studied political science, psychology, and overall debating humanities. So all the subjects require you to speak, to have a command, to have
Exactly.
a very strong command over language, to have
I see.
discussions. So That is how the practice evolves, right? I'm sitting in a group of five people and we're talking about one topic or the other every day. So language evolves with that, whatever language it is, regardless of specifying it to just English. I know
Okay.
some people who I'm really close friends with, excellent Hindi speakers. So much so that I'm envious of their Hindi speaking capabilities. I wish I had a share of that.
Okay, so perfect. Thank you for answering this question to me. All right, so what do you think? I mean, how you became fluent in English, and what is effective communication? As per you, what do you think one should imbibe and one should work on?
I can tell you what effective communication is not. It's not including fancy words in it. It's including words which very precisely convey what you're trying to do. Communication essentially is communicating your is rallying your thoughts to the other person. It's expressing your thoughts. So, excuse me, you don't need. A lot of times people correlate fluency with really, really fancy and difficult words. That is the correlation that they establish. I don't think so. I do know a lot of words which are rather fancy, and I do use them, but only because I know they would be understood in the crowd that I'm using it in. So effective communication is being able to precisely communicate your idea. Um, so that is what effective communication is. I think the first part of your question was how did I become fluent? The most cliche answer that you know, it's just practice.
Probably you've already answered that question. I think in my very first question, you've already elaborated that.
Yeah.
I think that's somehow more or less the same question. I think so. I immediately jumped onto a different question, asking about the effective communication ways, or probably what is effective communication as per you. Okay. If you have to tell somebody, say, who is novice and who started his career, or probably in his intermediate level, how one should advance towards the advanced level, or if somebody who is just a beginner actually, what suggestion would you like to give for them in order to improve their
uh,
communication?
sure. When continue, if before I start with my answer, one suggestion doesn't fit all to start with, just as a disclaimer, but I think there needs to be a breakdown of steps. You need to chunk your progress into various levels. When I say level, I don't mean basic, advanced, intermediate, but just levels of achievement. So if you're at a very basic level or beginner's level, like people call it, I would suggest becoming good at that first. A lot of times, what people do is they jump from basic to advanced or basic to intermediate, while I think they're not even good at basic sometimes. Just know how to communicate your thoughts in the smallest sentence. That is the place to start. Break your sentences so that every word that you're saying has certain utilization, which is something that I also still aim for. If I'm using words, they must have a utilization to it. They shouldn't be in a sentence with no purpose. If you'd allow me a sip of water, please.
Sure, please.
Thank you. So it's to effectively communicate with small sentences first. Later, you can go on to intermediate level and make your sentences big, more complex, more. You can bring them closer, and then see how can you change sentences, which is I think a very important thing. This is an activity I try to do with a lot of my clients. You've said a sentence, it is correct grammatically. This is basic level. It's grammatically correct. It communicates what you want to do. Now let's try to see how else can we say this sentence. Is there a better way? Is there a more efficient way to say it? Is are there dimensions of these sentences which can be used in different audiences? For an audience which understands the most basic or the most efficiently communicated sentence for them, then another which you cater to probably a different group of more intellectual and elite people who look for fancy words, as you call it. So there's
Right.
it's a very good practice to see how can you change one sentence into multiple ways. How can you shift the words around? How can you change a word to a more appropriate utilization? For those who are interested in language, it is also a very creative task to do. Other than that, I think something that I definitely recommend to everybody, regardless of which level they associate themselves with, is to. So a lot of people don't have an environment to speak English in, right?
Exactly.
Like I had a group of friends who have helped me speak the way that I do, and with whom I grow, just not in my language but also my thoughts. Everybody doesn't have it. So what I recommend is install a voice recorder in your mobile phone every
Mm-hmm.
day. Make it a matter of point to speak anything in it. Just
Okay.
communicate, just rally your thoughts out. Listen to it. How you're speaking. Do you think I don't think I receive my thoughts very well? Speak it again. So I think
Mhm.
that. I hope that answers your question because our time has also reached its brim.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. Yes, yes. Thank you very much for answering this question.
Thank you. I really
And
appreciate
I really
your
appreciate your time.
compliment and your interest. I do appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you. Thank you again.
All
You have a
right.
good
Have a
day.
good day.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye.